What should they consider?
I've heard
Couple,
you say the cremation, the burial, and final
okay,
expenses. At the very minimum, it sounds like they should have that. But what if they want more of an investment option? They want to replace a
sure.
mortgage, something to that effect.
Yeah, it's just, again, it just depends. I mean, the main thing I want, the first thing I want to know is, what does the client want to accomplish with their life insurance plan? What is it that stoked them to reply back the information that we sent them? So they requested a lead, right? They became a lead, and we sat down with them or talked to them on the phone. I want to know what's motivating them, right? I want to hear in their own words what matters to them. And then I'll ask them some questions about what do they want to accomplish. For example, for seniors, do you want to be buried or cremated? Why is that important to you? Well, if they don't have coverage, I'll ask them, God forbid, if you die tomorrow, what happens? Who's going to pay for this? Do you think your kids should pay for this? Is that the right thing to do? So we'll ask them a series of open-ended questions to get them feeling uncomfortable. And we don't do it from a manipulative standpoint. It's to show the situation for what it is to reveal the pain of, if you don't solve this problem, let's look at all the problems that will come from it. Whereas you could easily solve this. So it just depends on the situation. We're going to ask about what they have, what they want to accomplish, what matters to them, and then custom tailor a program based off of what their desires and needs are.
As far as the burial or cremation, does that make a difference with the insurance policy, or is the policy more just a dollar amount and it's really more personal depending on the client?
Yeah. So, right now in the funeral business, the funeral costs have experienced dramatic inflation. I think the average inflation, or the CPI index, the consumer price index, the funeral portion of that is like, I want to say it's 150% higher. It's significantly higher, the rate of which funeral prices have increased. And so what happens is that a funeral, if we think of a burial, there's more items to it, right? You've got the plot, you've got the opening and closing, the casket, all of that. That's going to cost more. And that's, in a sense, one reason why a lot of Americans now are opting for cremation, because it's simply, you opt for, throwing them into a furnace and clicking the button, right? There's a little joke there. But it's a little less complicated, therefore it's a little less expensive. And so we need to know that from an agent standpoint, because choosing which way to go is going to dramatically affect the ultimate price, therefore the amount of coverage they need. Do you need a $25,000 plan if your only goal is a direct cremation where there's no services, no funeral, and it's literally someone who's just cremated and then remains put into an urn? No, not necessarily. So that's part of the component we're trying to discover, is what do they want? Because our recommendation will reflect the dollar amount, which there is definitely a difference.
I gotcha. Is there anything more other than the cremation or the burial? What's the most expensive you would say you really need? So you went from 10 to
Mhm.
20, now 25. Does anyone
Sure.
ever need 30, 40, or 50 in coverage just for that portion of it? I get that the mortgage and that could be
Yeah.
millions, it could be whatever. But if that's all they're focusing on, what's like the top end? Have you ever seen anything upwards of 30, 40, or 50?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. It's you'll get that from time to time. Now, if we're strictly thinking of a senior and we're helping them with final expenses, somebody who's 50, which not quite a senior, but people start thinking about dying and being prepared at that age, they're more likely going to need 30,000, because the lifespan of the average 50-year-old probably will last past 80 at this point. So there's, a third of a century for inflation that rear its ugly head and cause prices to go higher. So buying more in lieu of understanding that inflation will push prices higher is a good idea. So yeah, we'll see larger face amounts. We call them face amounts, the amount of coverage the client has, the younger they are, to fix for the fact that we expect inflation to continue going up like it always has. But somebody who's a bit older, maybe 85, do they need 30,000 if they just want to be buried? Nah. Depending on where they're in the country, what the prices are like, 7 to 10, maybe 12,000 is also sufficient as well.
So and I'm sure you have all these prices, like you said, depending on where they're in the country, what they're doing, I mean, safe to say 10 to 15, you're pretty much covering a good amount of it?
I think so in today's dollars. Again, the other factor to that is what is the price going to be in tomorrow's dollars? And if somebody especially if somebody wants to be buried today, 10 to 15,000 will do it. But what if they live another 20 or 30 years? 15,000 a day, how much was that worth actually in the 80s? But the dollar amount in the 80s, that was equivalent to this
property for that in the 80s.
Yeah, right. Remember back in the day? Yeah. So same, but the thing that we try to help our clients understand is they all understand inflation. They're many times 50, 60 plus years old. You don't have to tell them when, a gallon of milk was a dime,
they
right?
Understand it. Yeah.
But what they don't quite see is it will just continue to go that way, right? So inflation always is there. It's very rarely not. So once you make that connection, they see the need to buy more than just for today's concerns, because the likelihood is our client, we don't know when they're going to pass away, but it's likely going to be in the future. So we need to be prepared for not just today, but for the future as well.
And that makes total sense. I'm glad you are so straightforward with that and bringing it up. And I know it's going to vary, and I'm just going to ask it, but for a 10 or 15 or 20 grand policy, does it really fluctuate the monthly pricing that much? I mean, it can.
It depends on the age of the client. If somebody's 80, there's going to be a big difference between $10,000 and $20,000 in coverage. The younger they are, there's less of it.
But if you're going from 10 to 20, it's not going to be anywhere near a jump, regardless of age, from 50 to 100 or 100 to $250,000 or.
Sure. Yeah. If everything else is held equal, if it's the same company, it's the same underwriting, same risk class, there's several other variables there. But yeah, it's not that big of a jump. But yeah, going from 10 to 100,000 is huge, but 10 to 20, not so much.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I want to bring it up, I always hesitate to even bring up pricing because this thing will be around for the next 10 years and, it fluctuates. There's so many variables, this and that. However, I did want to make the point for everyone listening that from 10 to 15 to 20, you could really shoot yourself in the foot as far as, you might get 10 grand covered, but now the family owes 15 when it could have been, I don't even want to say the dollar amount, but let's just say a minuscule amount in comparison. Now, yeah, if you're comparing a $500,000 policy to $1 million plus or something, or even 100,000, but that's why I was bringing up, like, have you ever seen it 30, 40, 50,000 just for, end of life burials and stuff of that nature? Because
sure,
obviously the house is going to play a bigger factor, any surviving benefits,
right.
Leaving anything else to generations. Let's talk about that. How do you leave some generational wealth if there's no other investments and stuff like that? How do you factor someone, okay, so we got, let's say 10 to 50 for final burial. Let's throw in average house, and you want to leave something as well.
So what tool best solves for that problem? It just depends on the age and the client's health and what they're ultimately trying to accomplish. But one way you can get more coverage in place for a lower dollar amount is use what's called a term life insurance policy. And essentially a term life insurance policy is a life insurance policy that has an end date. In other words, if the client outlives the policy cancels, okay, or it goes through the roof price-wise, and most people drop it. But the concept of a term insurance plan, it's not necessarily the best for a guaranteed payout because you might outlive it. Most term insurance plans never pay out. It's kind of a bulwark against an unexpected death earlier than expected. So we see that more used for income replacement, paying off substantial debts like a mortgage, right? So the family isn't evicted. I don't really do much in the way of generational wealth. I mean, personally, there are agents that will use, whole life or index universal life plans to where they're tied to an interest rate that they pay out or a stock market index. And it's kind of sold in that kind of, with that kind of strategy in mind, but that's a little bit out of my purview. I really don't deal with that kind of
prospect. Do you do more term than whole?
No, again, dealing with seniors and dealing with people who are dying, who are concerned about dying, right? What their main concern is, they don't want to be a burden to their loved ones. Mm-hmm. They want to know that whatever insurance policy they get will pay out no matter when they pass away. So by default, what we need is, and death is guaranteed. Nobody's been able to overcome death ever. So we need a policy that's also guaranteed to be paid out whenever death occurs. We know death's going to occur, but we don't know when the funeral is going to be, right? So if with that in mind, the logic here is that we recommend whole life insurance for clients who want funeral coverage protection because they don't know when they're going to die, but they know they are. The problem with recommending term insurance for that type of situation is what if they outlive that term? Yeah, well, and there's nothing worse than a senior whose health is declining, who probably can't qualify for much of anything, is now older and has to pay for more for a policy. Lucky if they can even qualify for it because now their terms run out. So we try to avoid recommending, if it's for that need a term insurance policy, because it really doesn't make sense if you follow the logic here. It's a, I don't want to say it's a gamble, but there's a risk. You could outlive it and you might not have anything.
That's the goal. I mean,
yeah,
you're
sure.
not going to get any benefit from the policy.
Right.
Oh, darn, I outlived it. Like, well, that I would hope so. But at the same token, so you're dealing more with the whole side, which sounds like it's good and you're helping a lot of people. You're just saying you don't get so much into the investment side and the stocks and the indexes as part of that package.
It's a strategy that agents can deploy, but our market is typically fixed income seniors, retired or disabled. They're not making a lot of money in retirement. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They have very little in savings, if any at all. And there's a lot of that market out there that really benefits from this particular product. And we tend to stay busy enough that we don't have to worry about getting into the other styles of products, because from a business standpoint, it's a different sale. It's a different way to present the product, as opposed to what I teach my agents is to focus on one strategy, because when you become the expert, you can help people better understand more products, underwriting, get better products and enforce for your clients so they have better coverage.
Yeah, and that makes total sense, because at the same token, if you're saying to someone who's 35, 40, or 45, who probably isn't even thinking about it, not saying they should,
right,
but you're going, oh, now you have either this higher price monthly that you may never see the end of light on, or is at least 50 years in the future, 50 to 60 years in the future. And, it's a harder sell. However, I have had people present it in a way where it's like, well, it'll be worth $1, $2, $3 million down the road, which it's all well and good, but it's still 50, 60 years down the road, and it does no good for you necessarily. I have heard of one person who was like, well, you can borrow on it ahead of time as long as you wait 10 or 15 years or something like that. I was like, I guess that's good 20 years from now. But it was a pretty high ticket at the moment. You know what I mean? As far as the investment. And the argument is, well, what if I just invest it outside of all this right now?
Right.
What can, you know what I mean? It's like you don't need the policy just to do the investment side of it.
Right. And there's different like thoughts on the whole investment side. It's not really an investment, it's insurance. But the idea of using an insurance vehicle for gains, ultimately, it's going to come down to your risk tolerances as somebody who's investing your money, right? You're probably going to have a higher upside for gain investing in a mutual fund, right, in the stock market, and over time, but you also carry the risk of down markets. And whereas with insurance products, it's very likely that. Say that again.
It's strictly insurance.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's insurance. So in other words, you will get, in most cases, some kind of return on your premium, but you also, for a lower return potential, mitigate the risk for loss, potentially. So again, if you think from somebody with a risk profile, somebody who doesn't like the idea of putting their money in the market might find an insurance product to be better off. And that's okay. I mean, personally, for me as an agent, I don't do that. I invest my money in the market. I have a strategy. I don't use insurance. I only use insurance as an income replacement. So if I kick the bucket earlier than expected, my wife and family are well taken care of. And so I use term insurance personally. So it's going to depend on the person. That's kind of what's cool about insurance is there's no like right answer that fits everybody. A good agent, if you're looking for a good agent, they'll understand that each tool has its place, and a good agent will listen to the client like an advisor would, and make a recommendation based off of what they're hearing from the client is what's important to them to best suit what their goals are.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're bringing that up because everyone needs it, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it like we talked about. And yeah, there's a lot of people, and I don't want to pigeonhole this industry because it's every industry. I real estate, this, that, but there are people in every industry that just want to sell the product versus, like you're saying, listen to what they need. There's someone I'm thinking of that I told them what I was looking for years ago when I got it, and he came back with a proposal 10 times what I told him. Oh, let me tell you why this is good. You'll have that money invest later for your business. And I was like, it's a lot of money per month that I can just use now. And then other people approach me and this and that, and then you know what I mean? It's like, I believe in it. You should have it, but just freaking listen. Give me give me $1,000 proposal. Like, really?
I'll be the devil's advocate here. I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Now, there's nothing wrong shooting for the stars, but if you end up hitting the moon, hey, at least you came somewhere close, right? So I think it's good to meet the need, but a lot of the times part of the problem is as a salesperson in insurance is our clients don't understand the full picture, the full scope of the situation they're in when they don't have life insurance, or they don't understand the benefits one could have with some of these other types of policies that are out there. So a good agent has to be persuasive. They have to be educators. They have to show ideas. They at least have to try to. Some people will take it, some people won't. The key difference, though, is to not be a product pusher. Like, for example, if your agent that came in and pushed this 10 times what you thought plan, and that's all he wanted from you, he's doing you a disservice. Because my take on it would be, and I would teach my agents this, is our goal at the end of the day is in sales is aptivity. We want to help people with coverage. Where there's a policy where there wasn't prior to that is an improvement. Maybe it's not the big policy we would want, but at least the client got something they can easily afford or met their goals. So for me, you want to try to help with as much insurance as you can. You want to make the offer, but don't go all in on that without any other alternatives, because you're not going to
second or third option. I know you said this, but here's some others that, and let me explain why. It was
terrible job.
Knew me, and I'll leave it at that because I don't want to pinpoint it too much. But it wasn't someone that just met like that day or that week. It was whatever. And that was a while ago. I remember they came into my office, and I was excited to see him because I hadn't seen him since high school. I'm appreciative of it and everything, but at the same time, I've always just listened to my clients, and it's like, if you listen, you can always hear something more that they might not be saying. So I really do appreciate when you say, hey, if you're 55, 60, here's this. If you're here, there's this. It's just, I can tell you generally just want to help the people.
And if that's what your main goal is, you're going to do just fine in this business, and people will naturally gravitate towards that more selfless person, because everybody has a prejudice against what they think a salesperson is going to be like: pushy, product pushers, aggressive, take no for an answer. And if you think through how your delivery is going to be, and again, like you said, listen to the prospect, the client, what they want, what's important to them. They can't wait to buy from you because you're the exception to the rule in their mind of what a salesperson is. And if there's agents listening to this, that's like the best advice you'll ever hear, is just listen to your clients, help them with what they want, make them a client, get them covered, and do that. And you'll do very well in this business, no matter what you're selling.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because on a recent episode with Christine McKay, I invite everyone to listen to it. She was given the example with a car dealer for her mom. Her mom drives around 200,000 miles a year. She buys new cars every 18 months for the last 30 years. And she goes 3 hours out of her way to go back to the same dealership and agent she got it from in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean,
People are fun. People are funny like that. You find somebody who does a good job for you, especially if you've been in business for a
yeah,
while.
and then
It's
you
like,
refer them out to people. I've never deliberately, or I've never, I realize I have a platform and I'm thankful. I've never said, oh, screw so and so in this company and this, that. I just, you know what? Whatever. I'm not going to put anyone down, but I'm sure as heck not going to promote them. However, the people I
right.
like that are nice might want to think about that extra question or just actually doing what's right, but I'll leave it at that. I got one question for you before we come back for the imperfect action round. And, well, actually, I got two. One, yellow or black?
Black.
Oh, nice. Oh, that was a good spin. That was a good one.
Keeps
Sometimes,
going and going.
sometimes they don't take. I actually slowed it down. So there's black. Um, I have a fancy break on the back of it there. It's called my pinky.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so my question for you is, who would you like to present insurance to that you might not think is attainable?
Oh,
Who would you, I guess I should say, who would you love to have as a client, but you're not sure if you can reach them or not?
oh, baby boomer celebrity.
Okay. Anyone in particular?
Um, oh, Walker, Texas Ranger guy. Who am I thinking of?
Oh,
He
geez.
hides under the bed. That's what the devil checks for. What's his name? God, forget
Chuck
his name.
Norris.
What'd you say?
Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris. Yes, of course.
Yeah, when he does push-ups, he doesn't push himself up. He pushes the world down.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. Yes, I'd love an endorsement from Chuck. That would be great.
Well, you
and a
have
client.
you have books, you have all kinds of stuff. There, I believe you could reach out to him. I mean, you've got tens of thousands on YouTube. There's no reason. I think it's possible. That's cool though. Yeah. You threw me for a loop. I was like, oh shoot, I got to come up with it. We both can't. Not
Yeah.
know.
I knew the old Chuck Norris jokes though, so I knew we'd get there eventually.
I was like, well, we do have a couple monitors we could Google it on, but
Right.
all right. We're going to thank our sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round. You're already the expert, but have you transformed your expertise into a tangible asset that will generate and qualify leads while increasing profit for you 24/7? And if so, how well are you promoting it? With the Expert Authority Effect publishing method, it's easier and faster than ever. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com to get started now. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. And we are back with the imperfect action round. David, are you ready to take imperfect action?
I'm ready.
I got 3 questions for you. Rapid fire answers, 60-second or less. The first one is, what is the fastest path to the profits?
Absolute focus on one strategy. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of one. That's it.
Oh, I like that. You changed the ending. That is good. Number 2, that was so good. What was the question?
I did. That was good. Wow. I'm just realizing the.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Don't be a jack of all trades, master of none. You said be a master of one. I'm like,
Man, that's good. I made that up too.
I don't even want. What is the second question?
Your genius is coming through the camera here. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I got a recording of that too. That's going to be a clip. I don't know. There's a second question I always ask, hundreds of episodes. What is the biggest problem? That was really good. I like that. Do you mind if I borrow it?
Absolutely. Steal it all you want.
The second question is dealing with your prospects. And what's the biggest problem your prospects make and the fastest way for them to fix it?
The biggest problem is they're world-class procrastinators. And the solution is stopping at nothing to get in front of them, even if that means showing up at their house unannounced to us the information they requested.
Okay. Number 3. What is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
Understand that the first sale is making them a customer, but it takes multiple sales to make them a client. And the broader you go with product selection, and the deeper you'll go with your relationship. So, in our business, we start by selling one product, mastering that one product, but eventually we grow our product clients or our product offerings to Medicare or annuities or other products. We go back to those clients and sell them other policies, which increases not just the customer value, but it reduces attrition, or what we call lapse ratios. More people will stick with you the more policies you have in the house. So the more that you do that, the more money you're going to make on clients and the more satisfying of a career you're going to have.
Excellent. Thank you for that. What books would you recommend to Expert Authority World?
Besides mine, I like, let's see, anything Dan Kennedy's good. Yeah, I'm 36. Those of you who are 35, 40 and older might remember Dan Kennedy, big time marketing guru from the 90s and 2000s. He doesn't do much today. He almost died a year or two ago. So I would definitely look into his books. Those are great. The autobiography of Ben Franklin is excellent. Any autobiography by successful people. Tony Robbins recommended that as a part of your process of learning success. See what other people have done to be successful. You'll start to see commonalities and trends. You'll notice a lot of them failed before they became successful. That's a big thing I've recognized. And that's, I think, a good start.
Well, I appreciate that. And we'll make sure your books are on the show notes page on eainterviews.com as well. Thank you for making those available, because between you and me and everyone listening, one of the things I look for having a great guest on the show is other resources, because I feel it's a disservice if I bring someone on, have them fall in love with you, and now it's like, whew, they're going off a cliff. There's no training. There's no, I mean, even like your YouTube, you got tens of thousands of people on YouTube. Like, there's good stuff on there. So thank you for making those available, but I always make sure the links are on there. So
Thank you.
Aside from that, where would you like people to learn more?
Yeah, 2 places. If you're interested in becoming an agent, you want to learn how we help people do what I've described today. My website's davidduford.com. Check it out. You can also go to David Duford on YouTube. If you're somebody who's interested in getting life insurance, you want to get a free quote, my other website's buylifeinsuranceforburial.com. Check that out. There's a quoter on the side. Get an idea of what life insurance to run. You can be an older person. You can be younger. It works across the board. So there you go.
Excellent. Well, thank you again so much. It's been a pleasure.
Mario, thank you. Take care.
All right, Expert Authority World. We have another great episode here today. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and God bless.